This is how much we know about movies. And we just if you want a raw review of movies, you're getting it right here because we don't know shit.
Dad! Oh, fuck, I don't know, man. Is that like nostalgia purposes for kids these age?
I don't give a shit. I don't care.
We get that, Pop.
Fine, I'll Google it through the magic of podcasting.
I mean, you don't have to Google it. I'm just saying, you just take it out.
No.
Not bring it out, or just be better prepared.
Now shut your fucking mouth.
I am your father.
Man, sometimes I wish like things would stay at a simpler time mentality.
Welcome to the Two Dads Review podcast. Well, Corey, what did you think of Sarah Paulson's directorial debut?
It was cool. Like,
you didn't even know it was her directorial debut, did you?
Before you watched it? I don't know things like that, man. I think the only reason I know, Miss Sarah's name is because I've literally watched every season of American Horror Story. Like, I still don't know people's like real names and shows I like, let alone like their fake names. I'm just like, yeah, that's the dude. He's the main character. Like I leave it so broad. I'm like, that's the main guy. There's this brother. He kind of comes around a little bit, does some shiesty shit, like that's how I keep up with the shows.
Yeah, right. Well, so far as of one day after it aired, it is the highest rated episode of American Horror Story to date with a 9.8 on IMDb.
Well,
I think that's a little bit.
I mean, that's by far not the best episode.
No.
If that episode would have been like, let's say, the same type of like, we're gonna just basically tell Michael's story kind of thing, and it was like just the ghost, but they weren't in Hell House, or Murder House. I mean, like it would have not nearly had the same effect. Like, they could have all just been like that they went to some supernatural plane to talk to those ghosts, right?
Right.
That's how they did the connection instead of like actually going in the house. But the fact that it went back to season 1, like everybody already starts off at like a 15, and they're like, oh, well, yeah. And even the ones that are like, oh, it was okay. They're like, dude, that was still like a fucking 8. And it's like, no, dude, it's just, you were so gung-ho about it, seeing the old house. And it wasn't even like the house was that big of a fucking deal in this episode. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, you were like, right. Oh, I remember watching that season. Like, that was the whole purpose of it.
Yeah, it's a whole nostalgia type thing that got everybody hyped about it. I'll give you that. And
it sounds like I'm saying it's a bad episode. It's not.
It is not.
It's good.
Not
I don't think it is the best episode that they like. The one that we said was the best episode is the best episode.
Still the best episode in
my mind.
Agreed.
But the fact that they went back in time, it's almost like they kind of cheated. It was like they had a special a 1-up or something hidden, like in the deck that you didn't know about. You're like, oh fuck, okay, I didn't realize we could buy stuff, like that. 'Cause I thought it all had to be made from home, kind of. And they just were like, oh no, yeah, you could have bought the shit. Oh, okay, yeah.
I think I'm with you. I think it's more the fact that a lot of the old cast, well, not a lot of the old cast, but you got Jessica Lange back, so that's going to give you an extra point.
Mm-hmm.
You got Dylan McDermott back, that'll give you an extra half a point. You got to see all of your already favorite actors and actresses playing the characters you first fell in love with them. We got, Tate, you got Violet, you've got Billy Dean Howard, you got all these characters that you're like, that's when I learned who Sarah Paulson was. That's when I learned who Evan Peters is, all that stuff. So yeah, I definitely think there is a nostalgia issue with this episode. Now, that being said, it was super freaking long. Like, I have to admit, I'm an old man. I'm not an old man, but I got kids. And when it was 11:05 and they were nowhere near wrapping it up, I was like working my way back and forth from consciousness. Like, I couldn't do it. I was like, I realized that I woke up and there were some people on fire, and I was like, what's going on? Like, I don't know what's happening. So watching it again today, I was like, okay. I was like, that's good. But yeah, it was 78 minutes with commercials. I mean, it was like 11:18 when that thing finally ended. I was like, what's going on here? Is this Sons of Anarchy? Pretty much. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I feel like all TV shows of this nature should be an hour long, basically, like
like an hour straight runtime without commercials.
Yeah, pretty much. You know,
so like an hour and a half total after they run their 5-minute chunks of commercials.
I guess, dude, I don't remember the last time I really watched a commercial of any sorts. And then I think like sitcoms should only be 30, like a solid 30. Like especially if it's a show that's just kind of like, we have a storyline, but it's like really loose. It's more like in the day-to-day activities or like kind of the weekend shit these group of people get in together. But like you'll have reoccurring characters like that come back like, 4 seasons fucking later. Like those shows only need to be a solid 30. Like don't tell me it's 42 or 45 because you gave me 15 minutes of fucking commercial. Like, just give me a solid 30 and then tack me a longer commercial at the beginning.
Right.
Because I'll sit through that one because the show's about to start. And then you can give me like a quick follow up of some bullshit while the on next episode plays. Like, there you go, man. Good to go.
You wish it was just a front load heavy commercial and back load heavy commercial and then just the show straight.
Yeah, like I wish that's how they would do it. Like you only got commercials in between the episodes. And like I don't even give a shit if they were like, okay, well then you got 15 minutes of straight commercial time. I'd be like, that's fine. You know what? Because there'll be a certain point where I just sit there and I go, all right, I can wait 5 minutes. Like I got nothing to fucking do.
Because they'll be smart and it'll never be a set time. So it'll be your show could start at the 10-minute mark or the 12-minute mark or the 15-minute mark, and you never know. So you can't just like not show up. You can't just not tune in. You know what I'm saying? So you're like, oh shit, well, I gotta turn all the way on in case they just like jump it in real quick. Or they never tell you like there's gonna be 5 minutes of commercials somewhere at the front and back end. Are we gonna have a minute at the front and 4 at the end, or vice versa? You're never gonna know. So you'd sit through it anyways. They'd get you anyways.
At least you know what? At least that would be like a creative game of roulette you could like make with yourself, right? Like you could make that fun. Like just the format the way it is now, you're like, all right, there's my 2 quick commercials, and then I know after this scene I'm gonna have the really big long like 4-minute block of commercials comes in, and then there'll be like one more kind of chunk where I'm like, God damn it, and then it'll finally stop right as I'm just about to bitch about like the commercial block. But but I'm lucky, like I said, I stream everything. And then I DVR the shit out of everything I stream, and I'm just like, tap the old 10 seconds forward button until I see the scene. I'm like, I'm good to go. Yep.
Yeah. This is one I actually record, because if you just stream it like from their on-demand service, you're stuck with commercials, especially if it's brand new. You have to watch. They figured out now that I remember streaming back in the day, which was like less than 10 years ago, where it hadn't really caught on yet, and that's when your shows had no commercials. They just uploaded the show the next day, and like you got to watch it, there was no commercials or anything. Then they all realized, oh wait, half of our audience like streams it later on and they never see a single lick of commercials. So they started putting it where you couldn't fast forward through them. And then every once in a while, the algorithm messes up and you can fast forward through something. Or I don't know if it's like they don't care or if there's whatever, but they've hit their revenue chunks. They're like, you can fast forward through it. Because every once in a while, like Walking Dead or something on AMC, you can fast forward through it, even like the day after. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. Like fast forward through these commercials online. But yeah, most of the time they've got you now. Because now at home, you never watch them if you record it. You just fast forward, you hit the 30-second jump and you're to the next play. You're to the next scene. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing that snags me in commercials anymore is like live sports. But I watch a lot of soccer, so most of the time, like the commercials are breakfast foods or just like car commercials, because it's all got like a Europeanish vibe to it. So
right.
They're not really that bad. But then there's some shit I watch late at night, and it shows like the best food that Chili's has ever made or something like that. And I'm like, oh yeah, dude, I so want to get some food. And I'm like, oh, it's 11 o'clock at night. God damn, why are you showing me a food commercial right now? Like, I can't get it.
I can't have that.
I know.
Yeah. So before we jump into this, I wanted to ask you, so last week, was it last week that I mentioned Big Mouth to you? And you were like, I don't really like Nick Kroll.
Yeah.
I think that was last week. So did you watch that this week?
Yeah, no, the show's good. Like it's a hilarious show. Like it's awesome.
I'm really glad that my sense of humor.
I don't like Nick Kroll will always be Ruxin to me.
Right.
It's like Schmidt will always be Schmidt. Like I don't give a fuck what else you play in, dude. Like you'll always be Schmidt.
Yeah, like whatever that new show he's in right now looks like shit.
Yeah, but like the way he talks, like I could not watch him in person make those voices.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, like, it has to be the worst thing.
It would bother the shit out of me. I'm like, nope, can't do it. And the show's great. It's a hilarious take on puberty. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's basically you going, yeah, I think this is how I would describe stuff. Like, like this is a good way. Like everything they talk about is a good way to kind of broach that subject, right? Like, especially from a point of view of people that have already gone through puberty and you're like, oh yeah, that's fucking spot on. Yep. That one was, wow. Jesus. Okay. I wasn't the only one. That makes me feel a little better right now.
I think I'm like 8 or 9 episodes in, and there's been a few times where I'm like crying, laughing so hard. And the most recent one, have you gotten to, and it's not really a spoiler, but the hormone monster for Nick or for Andrew, have you gotten to the elderly hormone monster, the other hormone monster in the...
Yeah, I'm on season 2, like episode 4.
Oh wait, I am on season 2. That's right. So I'm way past, yeah. But like that the old hormone monster makes me like piss myself, cry laughing. Like he is hilarious.
That thing is so disgusting.
It is.
Yeah, no, the OG, well, I say OG because he was the first hormone monster, but like his shit's hilarious.
Well, that's Nick Kroll too, by the way. You know that, right?
The hormone monster?
Uh-huh.
That's Kroll? I thought that was the the guy from Arrested Development. Does Batman's voice. Because I know I know Kroll's the gym teacher. Yeah, I'll be damned that's him as the hormone monster. I did not know that. I totally thought that was
And you see who does the hormone, the female hormone monster, right? Maya Rudolph.
Yeah,
she is marvelous. But yeah, he does the hormone monster too. He does everybody. He does the coach's hormone. He does the old hormone monster as well. Coach Hormone Monster, I think.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, everybody does all the voices. And on the same line as Nick Kroll always being what's his character in?
Yeah, because I totally thought it was Will Arnett that did the hormone monster's voice.
Yeah, no, but like you said, as long as just like Nick Kroll will always be what's his name from the league?
What, Ruxin?
Ruxin. Jason Mantzoukas will always be his brother-in-law from the league as well, and he's the one that does Jay's voice, the magician kid.
Yeah.
And like all I can see is that guy all the time. Like whenever that kid talks, and it's still the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, he has such a unique voice and like and the way he talks. Mm-hmm. Like his timing and pausing and the way he says shit. Like he's fucking hilarious, fantastic. Yeah.
So yeah, definite. Like I said last week, and Corey kind of poo-pooed it because he hadn't seen it yet. Only because he was like, it's just Ruxin to me. It's great. Big Mouth is great. There's 2 seasons, 10 episodes apiece. Super easy. They're 30-minute episodes. Blow right through them, and it's great. And it'll have you laughing. I promise. You good, Blood Sugar Man?
I could feel it coming on. I was like, I might as well go grab a snack real quick.
That's right. We'll break into it. We'll get going. I don't need you passing out on the mic when we're done. And whatever that is, get it done and gone.
I know that's why I'm opening them both right now and pouring it out on the table, so you don't have to hear the shit.
I'm listening to it. I was like, that's what it was. That's what it was last time. I edited so much of that out. Oh shit! Let's not do that. That's not good.
I'm on my 3rd Flexeril of the day. My last one. No, my 2nd one.
What is that? A muscle relaxer?
Yeah, dude. Between that and the garage meds, I'm like skin just hanging on bone. Like I'm just like, I feel like a big droopy mess. Like I almost messaged you and be like, hey dude, if I look extremely tired, like I kind of am, but it's really the muscle relaxer has relaxed literally everything in my body from head to toe.
You're like don't be offended when I droop in front of the mic and act like you're the most boring thing ever. All right, well, hey, let's get into the episode then. Let's talk about what we learned. A lot of things were there were a few things were finally confirmed that we pretty much knew was the truth, but they absolutely confirmed it. Did you get enough Madison Chablis back and forth for you? I was kind of expecting a little bit more for me personally, like their banter. There was some.
No, not really. I mean, I kind of figured they really honestly may not talk to each other a whole bunch, you know, unless it was quick, like just little shitty remarks back and forth to each other. But yeah, no, I didn't really expect like a whole like.
I didn't expect all the like almost opening up she was doing to him.
Well, I think when they both realized, I mean, because a lot of that opening up kind of stuff like happened after the first part of them like kind of confirming that like Michael is just a really terrible fucking person, you know. And then I also think like, you know, Madison got out of hell. Like I kind of think part of her is like, I'm not always going to be great. I know that, but if there is like with the ghost and stuff like that, you know, if she can do shit like that, she's like, you know, at least I'm trying.
Yeah, she definitely had some moments where she was showing a soft side she doesn't want to show. You know, she's like, I'm still a stone cold bitch, but yeah, I wanted to help these two ghosts get laid. Like what? Even though it's way bigger than that, but yeah.
Yep.
So episode starts off, they are completing the purchase of their house. She's commenting that she's expendable. That's why they sent her, and he's bitching that he had to put on khakis. So we've both had a bad day.
Yeah, that joke annoyed me so much
because he's dressing down to get khakis on.
No, man, like just it was just like a bad joke. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like it almost seems like they went overly gay with that joke, like, oh my god, like he couldn't wear khakis because he's a gay dude. Like that's what the joke felt like, and I was like, has nothing to do with him dressing in quality clothing all the time to me or anything like that, or you know, it was just like, quick, what are gay people known for? Fashion. Oh, put him in khakis. Like that was the round
worst
table
fashion
discussion.
choice ever. Yeah, let him do that. Yeah,
like I was
where
just
you're
like,
there.
Guys could have wrote something better. Like, that was a miss. Like I'm not gonna lie, that was a miss.
Nice. Well, and so they finished the purchase. The wire transfer goes through, and then after he's sold the house to them, he then has to legally tell them, "Oh yeah, I have to tell you about all the murders that have happened there." And he's like, she's like, "Yeah, we know about the murder." He's like, "You know about all 36?" And then like her look, she's like, "Shit."
Yeah. And I think that was more of a, oh shit, because as we later find out, like, she's going to have to kind of touch the bones to figure out who's who. You know, it's like, oh, I'm not just looking for one body now. I'm going to have to sift through 36 bodies, possibly.
Yeah, right. Deal with all the ghosts that could be in that house. That could be a full place with 36 folks there. So they get to the house. The first thing they do is Chablis casts a spell to allow them to see the ghosts even when they don't want to be seen. So apparently the ghosts can just chill wherever they want to and not reveal themselves to the people who are still alive.
Yeah, that's kind of always been the deal with that house.
Right. So he casts a spell, and then I mean, there was some nice like horror style feeling, like the suspenseful stuff, you know, as soon as the spell gets cast and everything gets blown out by some wind. Like, what was it, a nurse? Was she in a nurse outfit? I know she was in white. Do you remember which character that was from the first season? It's been so long, I'm not sure if I know.
I'm trying. No.
Well, I'm about to ask you. Do you remember who the burnt twins were? That's the next apparition they saw were the two girls on the stairs that were all like almost on fire.
Isn't that Fire Guy's kids?
Is that who?
Yeah, I think he set them on fire.
One of before everybody even got there from the main first season.
Yeah. So yeah, like in the first season, the guy that was always in the still frames, like coming out of the fireplace, like he was one of the backstories of like how the house drives people mad, and he set his family on fire. Okay, and so that's why his girls are always kind of charcoaled.
Yeah, so it's one of those, like, it's been 8 seasons ago. Like, I don't remember anymore. I'm so sorry. I'm not an aficionado. I just like the show.
And I think the girl in the white dress was when the two serial killer sisters came romping through, and or it was one of those, like, they may have been serial killer sisters, or it was one of those, like, we're here to do a satanic spell kind of thing. I can't remember, like, exactly why they were there.
Yeah.
But they get, like, killed in the house, you know, so now they're stuck in the house. That's the weird part, too, like, because not everybody that's a ghost in that house is been a resident. It could have literally just been, like, example, they didn't show him, but in season 1, there's a pest control guy that's just permanently stuck in that fucking house because he was killed by Tate.
Right.
So, like, there are just so many random fucking people and bodies that are just strolling around that place at any given time.
True. So, we also see Tate, as you mentioned, we see Tate, we see Ben Harmon, we see Violet, and then we see Tate and Ben, like, still doing, like, therapy, even though they're ghosts. And Ben and Tate's talking about the fact that Violet won't speak to him. So I guess as ghost, she's not talking to him about for all the shit he did while he was alive. She's just, is it her curse to not talk to him because Madison had to, like, free her of that? Or is it Tate's punishment? She doesn't even see him. Did you ever figure out what that was? What the actual, who was affected by who?
Well, no, I mean, it was literally just, she was mad at him. Like, from, like, all the things that the doctor, like, rattled off. Like, those are all things that he did.
Right.
And it was basically, she's just like, I'm not, like, it was one of those, you have done so many terrible things to me, like, I have to be mad at you, right? Like, even though she's in love with him, like, it was just like, okay, well, I gotta put a line down somewhere, I guess, right? Like, that was fucking terrible. And then when Madison does her thing on her, I don't think that was like a spell. That was more like, I mean, it was a spell, but that was more like, hey, you've only been looking at it from this side. Here's also the things he did too.
Right.
You know, like, that's why she was like, you saved my mom. You know, kind of, I think that's all that was kind of like, hey, let me wipe away your rainy cloud over your head kind of thing, you know, and
but
take it out. Yeah. I don't think the house was, or their punishment, like, from dying in there was like they could never be together dating. I think this was, they're literally both forever young adults or perma teenagers.
True.
Like, that's what.
With saying that, I feel like there was an external source that was causing her to remain mad. I mean, yes, I understand being mad for a long, long time, but it's not like those ghosts are experiencing time passing in any different way than everybody else is in the real world. So to stay mad for that long, it seems kind of like there's an external force acting on her to make her remain in that state of when
But I mean, I think that's like the point. That's also like why, like, you know, the doctor, like, had his routine. You know, like, he masturbated and cried.
Right. But it's an external force, like an external punishment that when they died was put upon them. So she's never going to be not mad at Tate. The doctor was going to stand at the window and cry and masturbate, you know, and Tate is forced to live in the house with a woman he loves who won't even speak to him or acknowledge his existence. I don't know. It felt like it was an external thing that could be lifted by witchcraft. You know what I mean? Or Moira, anybody being stuck in the house, like giving Moira her bones and burying her somewhere else, release her from the house type thing.
Well, yeah, because her bones left the premise. I mean, that's just kind of like,
yeah, I mean, that's standard,
you know, standard trope right there. Like, remove the bones, remove the spirit, kind of thing. Like, I don't know. Like, I didn't think it was some outside force thing. I just really thought it was just, again, like it was in season 1, like two dumb kids who were in love with each other.
Right.
You know, that's, I mean, and also, but your thing also explains, like, the doctor's masturbation thing. Like
he couldn't stop it. He had to do it every day.
Yeah, which was weird because when, like, Madison walked in, like, he immediately was like, God damn it, does no one knock anymore? This was almost like a self-inflicted punishment by him. Like, okay, this is, you know, like, he said he can't stop the crying or whatever.
No, he said that was more of a joke where he was like, I could just do without the crying. He's like, I don't mind staying at the window and masturbating, but I could just do without the crying.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the house probably maybe had something to do with it.
They don't really explain it, which I guess is kind of the point.
Yeah, I just figured.
Well, because they're not in hell. You know what I'm saying? They're not in hell. They're just in this house. It's not like Madison's hell or like the hells we saw past episode. Misty's hell, like where you're doing something over and over again and you don't know you're there. These folks it's kind of the same situation, but they're not in hell. They're just in this house. So I don't know. They don't explain it. I was just wondering what your take on it was.
Yeah, I totally thought it was just kind of like a teenage love thing. You know, like she's still mad at him. And it's one of those things like, I'm dead forever and I'm permanently stuck here. So I'll get over it whenever the fuck I get over it kind of thing. You know, like if it's years and years later, oh well, what else, you know, are we going to do? I mean, again, you would hope that even as a ghost, you would go, all right, it's been like 40 fucking days. This is kind of stupid. I mean, we're literally stuck here. Wouldn't we just sort it out? So I don't know, maybe the house like influenced emotion or something like that, you know, like, oh, you got stuck in a rainy cloud situation. So now like,
yeah,
it's extra super hard to get out of it, you know, kind of thing. I don't know. Probably it said it was built on the mouth of a hell gate pretty much.
So it's close as the hell you can get, right?
Yeah, like when the cloaked people show up, you know. I mean, apparently it's built on a entrance to hell. So
I don't know that the person, the one who was explaining that was really, really like dumbly dramatic. Like she was playing it on purpose, but she's always that person in the cult who's really, really into it. Like way too dramatic. Like, were you in drama in high school? Because she was like, and a murder of crows and it's on a portal of hell. And then she was like talking and like, I'm like, all right, girl, like, can't you just be cool like Miss Meat over there who's just like, yep, this is how it is.
Yeah, which is funny because later
she is a little more out there.
It's almost like Miss Mead is the one that can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know. All right, let's tell the story.
All right, next part of the story. Let's see. So the witches come in and announce themselves to Ben and Tate, and they're like, "Wait a second, you can see us?" She's like, "Yeah, you can see us, and we can see you. Like, here's who we are. We want to know about Michael." And then Ben's like, "I have to go masturbate and cry." And Tate's like, "You don't know what you're doing in this house. Like, even witches can't be protected." And he leaves too. And they're both like, well, shit. So they start walking through the house. And then you get like that standard old horror trope, like the ball rolling down the stairs, like the red ball. And you're like, well, you and I wouldn't go pick up the ball. I would walk away from the ball. But she goes and picks it up.
Yeah, like, I don't know, man. I guess you're just like, I'm a witch. I can handle like whatever. But both of them were already freaked out about the house.
Right.
Like, you know, and I hate when they make people do dumb shit that a normal person just would never fucking do. Mm-hmm. Like it would have been, to me, it would have been acceptable like if she walked around and kind of looked real quick and then like kicked the ball away to see if something would happen. And then the guy like came fucking darting out and they're like, whoa, you know, instead of like, oh, hey, a ball. And then here's rampaging fucking
Bo,
you know, Bo. Yeah. Like jumping on top of you. And you would think like in her flip out, like some witchcraft powers would have kind of shot him off or something, you know, or
yeah, whoever's teaching the defense against the dark arts for these witches and these warlocks is not doing a good job, because last week with Moore and this week with her, like no one has any like defense spells like just at the ready. They just get their Achilles cut, their throat slit, and they die. It's like, well, shit, witches are nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't seem very hard to like take them out. I mean, at least the dudes have like shown that they can like, you know, force push people.
Yeah, well,
off of them.
Chablis was getting ready to do that, and then that's when we get Billie Dean Howard comes in and she grabs his arm because he was going to push Bo off of her or do something with his, you know, some sort of spell. And she's like, "Don't do that, or you'll have 30 ghosts on you." And I'm not sure what she meant by that. Like, if he was to throw a ghost, like, would that piss everybody else off? Like, I didn't really get what she was going for there.
Yeah, that was like, you fuck with any, like, again, dude, it was one of those leave it to beaver things, man. Like, hey, we all may be stuck in this fucked up situation and hate each other sometimes or most of the time. But if anybody comes in the house to especially fuck with the obvious, like, what you would call the runt of the whole group, right? You know, the kid that they locked in the fucking basement and threw a ball, like that every dead person in that house has now got like a soft spot for, because they were like, dude, they just fucking threw you away. What the shit, man? Like, yeah, if somebody came in and fucked with him, there would be like, yes, she was right. There would be 30 pissed off ghosts in the house. Like, okay, you know what? We may have all died here, but you don't go pick on him. Like, that motherfucker didn't do anything to anybody.
Right. So while she's introducing herself, she says, I know you. And she goes, oh, I'm Madison Montgomery. Like, did you see my movies? And Billy Dean's like, no, but I've known some Montgomerys in my day is what she said. And I don't know what she's talking about, but I feel like that line is in there for a reason. And I don't remember if there was a Montgomery tie back in season 1 or Billy Dean talked about it in season 1.
Couldn't tell you.
Let me Google real quick. Anyways, yeah, so after Googling, I can't figure out if that line means anything. So someone will have to tell us, or we'll have to find it on something later. I don't know if she knows Montgomery's from something in season 1. Who knows? But let's see.
It's probably the most influential line, and we're just like too dumb to know what it's fucking about.
So then the big reveal of the episode, Constance Langdon. We knew she was coming. We had kind of wondered last week if like is Jessica Lange going to really come back? Are they showing us the back of her head just because like they're going to use like a body double and then we're just going to have her voice and then something will switch and she won't be there anymore or something? But it's her. She's back. Hasn't been there since the last episode of Freak Show. So, you know, that's part of the reason why the show got its highest score, because you get an extra point when she shows up. So she's... Yeah, that's what I was saying. The rating is just so...
super high, just for so many, just flooded with nostalgia, like votes. Like, oh my god, I saw everybody in their old shit. 10 of 10, 10 of 10, 10 of 10, 10 of 10.
Right.
You know.
Right. And so she announces herself and she says,
I'm Constance Langdon, and this is my fucking house.
So, and they break the commercial. So you're like, okay. Now it's some good shit. And then it kind of goes into some normal banter. Like they start asking her about Michael, and she's like talking about making drinks and how she can't get a buzz as a ghost anymore, but she drinks anyways. And at that point, the maid of the house, Moira, enters in her old form. Because when she showed up, I was like, oh yeah, she's the one who was a smoking hot redhead in season 1. And then it was really just an old lady in like magic disguise or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so she's in her standard old person form. And then I guess she says she cleaned whatever room Constance asked her to clean. So Constance's like, everybody wait a second. She goes in there and she like does practically a white glove test, and she's like finds dust. And then it's nice that Moira's like, it sucks bad enough I got to be your maid throughout eternity. She's like, I'm not going to really do a good job at it. My real job was entertaining your husband in the basement or whatever she said.
Yeah.
So they just have their nice little, you know, I wrote down like bitch competition because they were just trying to one up each other, and it was cute. It was nice to see. It was fun. But then
this outside of like explaining the weird shit that Michael has done, because really that's all they're really just verifying how fucking weird he is.
Right.
Like the whole episode was just 15 minutes for each character to basically go back into season 1 and act like the other person. Like every time they were brought in on the scene, it was basically from a moment the way they were left in season 1, like what they did. So that's why like they were in therapy, you know, that's why they're fucking bitching. And again, you know, it's the house, like you're just forever stuck in that situation. But yeah, it's weird because there's not a whole lot of new information. It's all just like, all right, it's all confirmation. And then really the show was them, like, again, I think this is why the score bothers me so bad, was the writers and the directors and the cast going like, you know, especially since they already said they were going to tie it into this season, like everybody getting excited to go like, dude, remember the first time we did this? Like we get to go act together now. Like that's what this episode was. Like the way this season is going and the kind of things they've done to like tie the seasons together, it almost makes me wonder if American Horror Story is starting to wrap up.
I would think so. I mean, it's been cleared for what, 1 or 2 more seasons. But if they're going to keep wrapping, then if they're going to tie everything nicely together by the, you know, if they touch on Murder House and Coven and this season, and maybe they can wrap up some freak show stuff and some hotel stuff, kind of. And there was some hotel stuff in this one as well. Apparently, at least one of the musical themes they mentioned was from Hotel. But all that kind of stuff, maybe they will tie it up over the next few seasons. I know they've been cleared for a few more seasons. I know that much. At least one more, if not two, already.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of like where Marvel's going to be after Avengers 4, because it's like. All the big guys are like, we're done. Like, I met my quota. I'm not signing a new 7-year contract. And Marvel's like, that's cool, man. We're taking a new direction, or we're going to recast people and blah, blah, blah. It almost seems like American Horror Story's kind of doing that. Like, this was like, hey, we brought back Jessica one time for you guys to like, remember, but like, she'll never be back in the show. And like, Sarah's characters, it's like almost like, because she kind of took the mantle, it's like, all right, you're on your way out too, and it's like we're gonna get this whole new flood of people if the show keeps going. I feel like
just wrap it. I mean, it wrapped up. I mean, everybody kind of got a wrap up when Madison asks about Michael again to Constance. She's like, look, get rid of Moira and I'll tell you everything you need to know. So I liked how Chablis is the one digging the hole, and Madison is just like standing there smoking. So he's digging the hole. He finds something because of where they were. Like they were there out by the gazebo. The skull he finds is Hayden McClane's skull, Kate Mara's character from season 1, because he buried her on top of Moira's bones that were buried there already, and then built the gazebo there or whatever back in season 1. So that's whose skull they found first. But then they end up finding all of Moira's bones, and they bring them to her, and she's like, "Oh, thank you," and she's like, gets on her knees and like starts hugging Madison, and she's like patting her on the head, like all mechanically. She's like, "You're drooling, you're getting drool on me, like stop." And then where do you want to, and then Chablis asks her where she wants to be buried, and she's like, there's only one place I've ever wanted to be buried, and that's next to her mother in a cemetery. And they go and they dig another, poor son of a bitch been digging holes all day. That dude dug another hole. Dude.
That guy can lift a fucking car now. That's some backbreaking work, the way he was doing it too.
It's that khaki power.
Right, yeah.
So they bury Madison, at least she fills it in for him with some witch magic. She magics all the dirt back in the hole.
Yeah, you couldn't have done that.
Couldn't have pulled it out that way.
Yeah. This is just lazy magicking.
Yeah, right. So at that point, Moira. While they're sitting on the thing, this is one of the times that Madison opens up to Chablis. She's talking about, if I get buried somewhere, I'd be buried at Studio 7 on the Paramount lot, because it's where I had she said her first like nude scene, and how it was just gratuitous nudity for nudity, and she begged for a body double, but the producer, wanted to get his rocks off, whatever. So she was like opening up to him a little bit about her background and her past, and about how she's like, second chance type thing, third chance type thing, so she's not gonna fuck it up or whatever.
Yeah. And there was also a nice shot at like all the Weinsteins of the world. And,
truth.
Like, gotcha, motherfuckers.
It's like that shit's gonna get written into plots for years to come.
Shit, dude, I wouldn't be surprised if like all female contracts have like a nudity clause in there.
They usually do anyways, but I mean, yeah. After they fill in the hole and they leave, Moira's there. So she's followed her spirit has followed her bones, and her mother, she's like bending down over her mother's grave, and her mother comes up behind her, and they have a nice touching moment. She apologizes for pulling her mother's plug on the respirator when she was in the nursing home, and the mother's like, I completely forgive you. It was the greatest thing ever because I was in pain and you released me or whatever. And they walk off into the fog together. So that wraps her. So she's gone. Like that's one of the wrap ups of the episode. Like she's laid to rest.
Yeah, I saw the fog and I was like, is this one of those things where they just walk in the mist and then they disappear and a breeze comes and the fog's gone and they're gone, and you're like, all right, so you guys just hanging out in the graveyard, or did you like actually go on to the afterlife? Did your mom come back real quick to be like, oh hey, you're here with me now, like come on, I'll take you to the good place, or whatever.
Yeah,
It's weird. It was just a weird way to like walk off, you know, I guess. I don't know.
And yeah, it was, and I was like, where are you? Like, wasn't it like, was there like water on each side of it? It was like a bridge to like, I don't even know what it was, what they were walking out to. It was weird.
It was almost like
a pier.
There was a park.
Yeah.
You know, with like a pretty decent sized bridge like in the middle of it. You know, I don't know, maybe that fucking cemetery is huge and gets a lot of traffic.
I'd say it's really nice bridge and water area for a cemetery.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine flowing water in cemeteries ever being a good combination.
That's never a good thing, especially when you get down to like Louisiana. It's when in places like flood, there's just caskets floating everywhere. Not good. Oh yeah, dude. Not good.
No, I'm surprised Louisiana hasn't like done, or like especially any state that's like below sea level, basically.
Like, no burials.
Yeah, that's like a mandatory burning law.
Right. Mandatory Viking funeral law. That's what I want. I want a Viking funeral. Just put me on a boat and fire a flaming arrow into it.
I just want my kids just to burn me.
Like a Vader,
put me in a jar,
like a Vader funeral pyre in the front yard. That's what you need. Like when they burn Vader's body.
I wouldn't even like. I hope my kids don't even throw a funeral.
Yeah.
Like just I die, process the process, and then put me in a cup when you're fucking done. Like I don't need a fancy urn. Like whatever, man. Like spread me around. I don't give a shit. I'm dead. Mm-hmm. Like I don't. You know, like don't waste your time. Like I don't even want one of those parties that's like we're not here because he died. We're here to celebrate his life, you know, like kind of vibes. Like, nah, dude, just I'm dead. Like, you don't need to do anything else. Like my lifeline, and it's literally extinguished. Like, in whatever things I had in order have now kicked off.
Yeah, but
my Rube Goldberg machine is now going.
Besides, if we have a party to celebrate your life, it'll all be like sugar-free fucking candies and shit, and like things that no one wants to really fucking eat.
I would make sure that it's like all just diabetic shit. So every normal person like that showed up would be like, "What the fuck?" And I'd be like, "My life, bitch.
This is my life.
My life. Live it for a fucking hour."
Oh man,
I'd put in clauses, and Corey would really appreciate if everybody ate
the sugar-free
35
fudge.
Pieces of sugar-free candy, because that was his favorite number. And then you guys will all get like sugar alcohol poisoning and have like the worst fucking gas of your life like the rest of the night.
And this is why he was the way he was, because this stuff is horrible. Anyways, so freeing Moira allows Constance is happy. She's enjoying the silence in the house. And they're all sitting at like the breakfast nook table. And so Constance goes into, and you're right, this whole episode was just each main person from season 1's like story about Michael, like their interaction with him. So Constance, she gets the main tale because she raised him from birth. So he was born in the house. Vivian, his mother, she died at childbirth. Constance was glad to take on the responsibility of a child because she's one of those people who always, she said she was born to be a mother. She was a mother to 4, and she also realized that she had fucked up with Tate, and he was the way he was, and she blamed herself for it. So she's like, I wanted to do over with Michael. Like, I'll do it again. And she said he was just the sweetest baby, had such a cheerful disposition, even when he was committing unspeakable acts. And like Chablis and Montgomery and Madison were like, I'm sorry, what? Do go on. And then so she said when he was a little baby, there was like flies with their wings torn off in his crib. And then as he got older, it was like rodents and shit. And then
I like how she said it was like, oh, the usuals. You know, like at first I would notice flies without their wings in his crib. And I was like, what the fuck? And then, yeah, I like how she explains it, you know, even though she knew he was basically a serial killer. Like, I like how she threw in that, albeit maybe even a great one or a talented one. Right. You know, like she's like, I knew we had something special on our hands, even though it
may be bad,
really bad.
And the shot where like he had nailed a rat to the wall, to like the door frame, and she was like, he left him there to show his love for me. He said there are gifts for me.
Yep. God, that would be so terrible.
She starts like burying each animal he gives her that's dead, and she puts a rose, like her favorite flower is a rose, so she puts a rose plant on top of each of them, which is real nice until you realize that like her rose thing is like 5 wide and 20 deep of rose bushes that she's planted for all the animals he's killed. He's got 3 dead cats like skinned and strung up in the kitchen, and that's where she was like, she's like, I knew he was messed up. And then there was the sitter thing, and I think you had talked about that a few weeks ago about like where he killed the sitter as a like he was what, 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think it was in the final episode of that season, like he kills like a maid, I think, or something like that.
Oh, so it's not this scene, but yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't that. I mean, that was a totally different person, but yeah, it was like even as a baby, he had already like took out an adult, you know?
Yeah, so he kills a sitter, and she's like, at least I didn't have to bury that one. I convinced the police that she killed herself, which that's amazing. that you could get them to believe that shit. But and then at this point is where it goes like off the rocker. Like this is where he grows a decade overnight.
Yeah.
Like she opens the door and like the bed he was sleeping in, like his legs are sticking out over it because he's, a grown man now, or a grown, teenager now.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I didn't see that coming. That even like when he went big, I was like, oh shit, okay.
And I'm not sure
Tom Hanks situation.
I guess if we think about when Murder House, because Murder House wasn't set in, it was back in like the 80s, wasn't it? Like the time frame? I want to say it was like 80s or 90s.
I don't know.
But so I guess he had to kind of grow that. There had to be an explanation for how young he still is, pretty much, even as his current timeline form. You know what I mean? Like he's still kind of young, so it's like, has he been around? I don't know. I'm not sure if that was needed, but they gave it to us, so we'll go with it. I guess it's more to explain his upbringing, or like his like who he really is. Like he was in a hurry she said he was in a hurry to get somewhere, get to an age.
Yeah, I mean, it's all of this can't be too much further really than where even though there's been 8 seasons.
Yeah,
I think the timeline in American Horror Story, like it's way closer to Hell House than we think.
You think so?
Or to Murder House than we think. Yeah, because it has to be, because he does that giant leap and then he's already met
being raised by Miss Mead. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yep, you're right. Okay, I'm wrong. Forget I said that. You're right. That's even
unless
closer.
you just raised him for 15 years, kind of like, okay, hey, you're a full-grown boy, like I'm going to teach you the dark arts and you're going to pretend how to fake and be normal to bypass people, or, whatever. So, I mean, maybe they could have done that, but I just feel like if they sped him up that quickly and then they show Miss Mead, almost immediately from him becoming a young man, then those two timelines got to be pretty close to each other.
Yeah, no, you're right. I would say so. And it would kind of jive with some of the ways he still acts fairly young. Like even with the scenes with Miss Mead older, he's still acting probably a little bit too boyish for the age he looks. So he still kind of has that, he's still kind of, even when the coven gets him, like even when the male coven gets him, he's still acting in like not even teenager mode, really. He's still very like, I'm saying what I mean, and I'm doing what I'm going to do a certain thing. There's nothing real deep into it all. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go to hell. I'm going to get her. I'm going to go to the hotel. I'm going to get her, but it's not like there's this, none of the late teenager, like angst is in there either. He's just like still kind of a kid.
Yeah. I think it's like to kind of show how still like naive he is.
Right.
On some of this stuff.
That's what I was trying to go for.
Sorry. Like a lot, like, because if the timeline is that short, then like all of this is basically brand new for him, like the whole interaction with the other students and blah, blah, blah. But he also knows that he has a destiny and basically everybody's a pawn in it at the same time, because he has basically one close person who's Miss Mead, who now just went, hey, we got one more cool dude, but he still doesn't know everything. Like, so he's really an ends to a means, or a means to an end, like, kind of vibe. So
right, that makes sense.
But I think you can only be that brash too if you're still young like that.
True.
Like I know he went from like 5 to 16 through 18, somewhere in there. I'd say he's probably still 16 or 17 maybe, like if you would pinpoint him for an age.
Right.
But at that age, man, like you just did shit. Mm-hmm. Like you never thought about it. There was no like And the only people that thought about it were the ones who were the DDs all the time, or like the party moms at the house, because they were the only smart kids really that had foresight to like look at shit, where all of us other assholes were just like, woo, living exactly in this moment, and I'm never leaving this fucking space ever.
Says younger Corey.
Yeah, like I think that is kind of where he's at. Like, so when it was one of those, like, we kind of first took it as, oh man, he's just really cocky. Like he is, like, he knows he has the power, but it's still of nothing's been able to hurt me until when nothing ever. Like, he just doesn't have a care in the world.
Right.
You know,
makes sense. But yeah, I would like someone to please write me out. Someone from the production crew, please write me out a timeline so I know where things are. Like, I just need to know. It bothers me that you're not telling me.
You could even write secret on it, and I wouldn't tell anybody, but I'd be like, oh, all right, makes sense.
All right, makes sense. Cool. Now. Just break out the timeline for us. So at that point, once he grows, like at some point later on in that time frame, like he wakes up Constance by like choking her. Like, you're never going to tell me what to do anymore. I'm in charge now, or something he tells her. And then, then he lets go, starts crying, he apologizes. And, you know, she's scared. You know, she calls in a priest to help him, and then he kills him too. I like how he's sitting on the bed too when she opens the door. Like, he's got his legs like hung over the end of the bed, and his arms are kind of hanging between his legs, like looking all like,
yeah, he's just kicking it like a little kid would.
He's like, I killed him. What? And so this is where she says, she's like, she figured she was one grammar correction away from him slitting her throat. And she's like,
I wasn't going to give him or any man the satisfaction. I have always lived my life on my own terms.
So she puts on You're Gonna Miss Me by Connie Francis. She pours herself some drinks. She takes some pills. What's a finny? What drug is that? That's what she calls it. She calls it a finny chaser. And I don't know what drug that is.
I don't know. That's even out of my drug vocabulary. It's got to be some kind of like mama antidepressant pill, I guess.
Short for fentanyl. Strong opioid. Similar to heroin. But 50 times more potent, according to Urban Dictionary. So that's nice. What she was chasing, that scotch or whatever she was drinking.
That's like that shit they give you when you have like, I mean, obviously something major, but like I know one of the uses they use it for is like if you get that infection that eats your skin kind of thing, like, and they gotta like do that whole blood pack where they actually like put a band-aid on it that pumps blood into there so all your shit could heal and stuff like that. One of the pain meds they'll put you on when you're on that kind of treatment is fentanyl. They're like, yeah, don't worry, man, you're not gonna feel shit for a while.
You'll be fine. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I know what morphine feels like, and that feels fucking amazing, so I can totally understand why people were like, heroin's fucking great.
Right. So after she dies, she wakes as a ghost with all of her children around her. Well, 3 of the 4. So Tate, Bo, and then the little one, I forget what her name is. We see her in a minute. Maybe they don't tell me. Anyways, but she says all except for Addie. And so I had to just look it up. Addie was her daughter that gets killed by a hit-and-run driver, and she tries to drag her body onto the house ground so she'll be there when she, you know, her spirit will be there, but she doesn't get her there, so Addie's not at the house. So that's why there's only 3 of her kids there. And yeah, so she talks about being bored to be a mother, and she says, why not die to be one too? I was like, okay. Here you go. That works for me, I guess. So she ends her story. As she ends her story in the kitchen, like her youngest daughter says it's tea time, and we see her and she's like got no eyes. I was like, that's great. Thanks for that.
Nothing. I don't even know how to describe it, dude. It's like hollowed out child eyes, like just staring at you is one of the. And even if it's like shitty CGI, like just blacked out eyes, like I don't even care if you went in like MS Paint and just cropped in some ovals and put them over eyes like in black. Like it's not right.
No,
it just doesn't sit right ever. Yeah, and it's weird to have say like eyes that are just black, but these are like sockets, and then they're just empty holes in them. Like there's just, you know, they don't even show the background. It's just like, no, You literally are looking into nothingness.
Yeah, that child's name is Rose Langdon. That's what her name is. The one with no eyes. I think she does mention her name, but I didn't write it down. I just Googled it a second ago. So they head off. So they've gotten Constance's story from Michael. So she's done. They've got her. She heads off to have tea with her daughter because it's tea time. Now they walk. I think they actually went to commercial, but then now we come back and Ben's jerking it in front of the window crying. And Madison should please walk in on him. I do like what Madison says where she goes,
"You gonna be much longer, Dilf?"
Yeah.
I was like, she's got the best lines. So they also tell, this is what they tell him, we talked about earlier, that we can fix that for you if you want us to. He's like, well, I can do without the crying. That'd be fine. Yeah. So then he gets to tell his Michael story. And so he says the first day he saw Michael was the day that Constance died. So he shows himself to Michael already as a ghost. So we see Michael find Constance, cry over her, and then like Ben's just like sitting in his chair, like his therapy chair, just like, doing his doctor thing. And so they start talking doctor to patient. Like he helps his not son out. I don't know what to call him. His wife's kid is not his son, out. And they start doing like kind of like some father-son things. Like he starts showing him the ropes a little bit here and there, like, a little bit of bonding and stuff. But then all of a sudden, and I felt this story felt a little like convoluted to me, because at some point, like Michael's in Tate's room, like going through his Rubberman mask, like his Rubberman outfit or whatever. And he has like the mask on, and Tate busts in and like starts screaming at him and denies him actually, because he calls Tate. He's like, "I just want to be more like you, Dad," is what he tells him. And Tate's like, "You're not from my seed. I could never create a monster like you," or whatever. And Ben's trying to break him up and shit. Like Tate's like losing his mind at him.
Yeah, what about it?
That was, I don't know. It's just kind of, it was kind of out of nowhere. Like the way his story was going, then it was like all of a sudden, like this whole Tate thing. But it makes a little bit of sense. But then it jumps like to him cutting on like a Black Dahlia, like it's Mina Savari is who it is, who's playing the girl on the table, and he's like cutting the smile into her mouth, but she's like alive still. And then he just starts like hacking at something else on her. Like I don't even know what was going on there.
Well, that's like, because when he's telling the story, he's basically saying like, I tried to guide him and make him good, like he wanted to be good, blah blah blah, but whatever that darkness in him was like winning the battle. And then after Tate like yelled at him and then basically was like, "You're not mine. I don't want anything to do with you." Like, and you see Michael cry. That's when Michael lost the last little bit of humanity he had. Mm-hmm. And then he starts, instead of animals and stuff, he literally has a house full of people to fucking torture on call.
True.
And so, and so that's when he was like, and then I find him doing this shit. And he's like, "Look, I'm trying to give her a smile." Like, obviously he's just a fucking psychopath, like it was one of those things. Again, it was almost like they were sticking it, like his punishment is to never be a good father. You know what I'm saying? Like because in the show, like he wanted to be a dad and wanted to be good, but he fucked up and da-da-da-da. And so it's like, even him doing his explanation is also you seeing that, hey, dude, you were destined to fail no matter what. You're stuck in this fucking house. Also, Michael's pure evil. Like, you weren't going to change that either. You
right.
know, kind of thing. Yeah. And then I just think it was them showing that scene because we'd already had seen in the last conversation of how he mutilated, small animals. And she said he graduated, but this was him like taking his time, like doing something to someone, not just like a kiddie whimsical impulse of slitting the priest's throat and then going, "Oh, I accidentally killed him because I just grew overnight. I don't know the deal." Like his innocence was gone now. Like, him doing that was him going, "I fully well and understand that I am cutting a smile into your face because this brings me enjoyment. Like, I like doing this shit."
Yeah, but I guess my thing was like she was still awake, which was why I didn't understand.
Why would she be put under?
I don't know.
She's a ghost.
Is she a ghost?
She's dead. Yeah, she's in the house.
Oh, okay. Is that one of the ghosts from the house?
Yeah, she's the Black Dahlia.
Is she the actual Black Dahlia?
And in the story, she gets murdered at that house. So he was operating on a ghost, but he was basically like, he caught her, cut her in half, and enjoying the shit out of torturing her.
Okay, well, that makes a lot more sense.
And the fact that she can't die makes it even more fucked up because he knows that. Like, it's not like a doctor going, hey, I'm working on a cadaver to learn about the body. This was like, you can't die, and I can sit here and watch what I'm doing while you react or talk, you know? And like, because even she made the comment like, anything for the business, you know, or whatever. Like, yeah, I'll, you know. So, because I also think her ghost, probably her punishment is to be a willing character in whatever, you know, just to be so naive that the director said, hey, I'm going to stab you. It's a fake knife, or, you know, you need to do this sex scene behind closed doors with me before you get the part, kind of thing. Like, she was the girl like, oh, that's what we got to do. That's what we got. That's why she ended up getting, you know, murdered and shit. And,
gotcha.
yeah.
That makes more sense.
That's just
I forgot about
Michael
the Black
being
Dahlia
a
part.
disgusting human being. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, how is she still not screaming? But yeah, so, and then he graduates to other people because the house gets sold and two nice ladies bought the house. That couple comes in and they've moved all the boxes in, and then they literally walk into the like living room and he kills both of them right there in the rubber man outfit, and they die. Ben tries to stop him or scold him or whatever. He gets so alive. Michael can affect the ghost, like, so he can hold Ben against the wall, and then as the two ladies he just killed, when their spirits stand back up, he then lights them on fire and turns them into nothing. So not only did he kill them, but he caused them to cease to exist.
Yeah, whatever fucking hell flames things he pulled out, that was, I don't even think that, like, you know, you said like it wasn't like the hellfire coming to pull them down.
No, you're
to
just
take their souls to hell.
Gone.
This was you've been bleeped out of existence. Like, there's no, if there is a soul, there ain't one now. There sure as hell isn't a ghost. Whatever cosmic atoms you are, you have thus returned back in. You are nothing.
Yeah. And at the end of Ben's story, Vivian shows herself, I guess, for the first time since she died, right? Like, because Ben had not seen her. He acted like he hadn't seen her in a lot since she died, I don't think, because she didn't want to show herself.
I don't think it was since she died, because...
Or did he say, are we talking again or something?
Yeah, because I think there was... When Michael came, they were talking, because he talks about the baby in the basement and stuff where they're at. But when he started helping Michael, you know, and Vivian realized well before anybody else that he was just Bad News Bears, she just went into ghost mode and was like, I'm not coming out. I'm not talking to anybody. Like, and apparently the ghosts can hide from each other.
Looks like it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that was when he went to go play Daddy Number 2. She was like, nope, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
Right, because did she have a miscarriage before she had Michael in the first season? Was there?
I don't remember. I think so, but I don't remember.
I don't either.
Because I think it was one of those things where...
Because she sends him out of the room to a baby that's crying in this episode. Like, there's a baby crying. She goes, you know, go take care of your son or whatever. So I think there was a miscarriage early in the season, maybe. And that's what's crying, is like the dead miscarried baby.
But didn't they say Michael was a twin?
Well, yeah, maybe, but that would still not make that. I don't know. We do know Michael was a twin, but I think I want to say there was a miscarriage in the earlier, but I could be wrong. At me on Twitter. Tell us how wrong we are.
I don't know.
Tell me you binged 7 seasons before you watched this season started. Come on. I didn't do that. Sorry. So she tells them that Michael's not just a bad witch they have to exterminate, that, and then she quotes, I'm guessing, Revelations.
Then I saw a beast with 10 horns and 7 heads rising out of the sea, and all who dwell on the earth will worship him.
Which is the line introducing the Antichrist.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm correct with my biblical stuff. But yeah, that's she's like, okay, he's the Antichrist. So we come back from commercial, I think, and Vivian starts her story. And she talks about, like you said, she kept away at first. Like, she didn't show herself to anybody. But she starts talking about how the house was. So there's like a murder of crows that just circle the house every day. He has like space heaters in every room. Like, the house was like sweltering hot. And then she goes, then they came. And this is when the three cloaked figures who introduce themselves, one of them is Miss Mead, but they introduce themselves as the Black Pope of the Church of Satan and his cardinals. They tell him he's a chosen one. I like that he's like just getting up from his nap, so he's got like bed hair, and he's like, who are you guys? What are you doing?
Yeah. I'm a teenager. I sleep all day. What the hell's going on?
Right? And so at that point, Vivian still hadn't shown herself to anybody because she thought it was a joke. She's like, these people are just crazy zealots, you know, wannabe Satan worshipers, this, that, and the other. And she's like, I thought it was all a joke until the Black Mass. And then everybody's like, what's the Black Mass? And you see a girl sitting under like a lone bus stop at night in the rain, and a car pulls up and it's Miss Mead, and she's like, come on, get in the car. And of course I'd get in the car with her. She's a sweet old lady. Of course I'm going to get in. So she gets in, and the poor girl, she like sees, as soon as they start driving, she sees like the upside down cross in the car, and she's like, oh, I think I'll just walk. And Miss Mead like jabs her with a giant syringe. She's like, no, you won't be able to.
Yeah, it'll be pretty hard.
So the girl that was in the car wakes up on a table. The three from the Church of Satan and Michael are all gathered around her. They start praying over her, and the one cardinal who was real zealous at the very beginning about the crows and the this and the that, like she gets to say, it's all for you, Michael. I was like, okay. I was like, that's a little bit on the nose for Omen. Like, of course she's going to pull it out, right? I mean, you have to think if it's in the same timeline, she's absolutely going to say those words to the real Antichrist when it was said in like one of the most famous Antichrist movies of all time. Why wouldn't you take time so you could tell that story later on in life? And there I was, standing over the sacrifice at Black Mass, and I said, it's all for you, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, it's also one of those things where all for you is just, like, you just can't, it will always be associated
with Omen.
With that, yeah. And especially if you use, like, and the funny thing is you could use kind of any biblical name there, and it'll still work, you know, like Michael, James, like, you can, any, you know, Josiah or some shit like that, and you're like, ugh, that's fucking creepy, you know, like, that's weird. Because who says that? It's all for you. It's all for you.
It's the girl. It's his caretaker in the movie that hangs herself. It's what she hollers from the top.
Well, I know that's what I'm saying, but like, who the fuck says that? Like,
yeah, whoever says those words like that.
Whoever says all for you. Like, the only time you hear it is the one time you heard it in that movie, and now it's the only thing you can think of. So when you do hear it, you have like instant flashbacks of that, and you're like, oh, that's a dark moment for my brain.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Oh,
well,
that one's stuck there forever.
It gets darker, and I have to give this actress credit. The girl playing the sacrifice, that's a rough scene to have to scream during. Like, what she was having to, like, okay, here's what I could just imagine Sarah Paulson's direction. Okay, so you've been stabbed, and they're gonna kind of it's a knife that's like used for skinning deer. So there's that hook on the back. So they're gonna rip the hook up a little bit so they can get, and then he's gonna dig his heart up. He's gonna dig his hand up under your rib cage and grab your heart. But you need to be screaming this whole time. But you have to make sure that you're picturing something wriggling around inside you, and then you have to scream until he rips your heart out. And I was like, yeah. I mean, that she did. I mean, I was like, it made the hair on the back of my neck stand up, like listening to her scream, like watching him root around in there.
I did like how, like, right when he touched the heart, she went,
yeah. And he was like, oh, I was like, what are you doing, dude? I think he was surprised he did it at the end of it too. The fact that it all just came out with it. Like, he pulled the heart out completely. Like, he like made like a groan, like almost like a O face. I don't know. It could have been, honestly.
Probably. I mean, probably was at some point. I would imagine if you're that hardcore into any religion where, like, one of your steps in the final sequence is like touching a beating heart, and you truly believe that that's the way it needs to go. I mean, I guess when you actually got to that moment, it's like, I don't know, fucking practicing a skateboard trick for like 3 fucking years and finally landing it, like that immediate feeling of like, I did it, like I'm here, there's the end, you know, like kind of thing.
That's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was. And it's so they put it in a dish and Miss Mead presents it to Michael and he takes it and takes a bite out of it. And as they're praying to him, like it's the shot, there's a shadow that starts to appear behind him, and the shadow is, you know, it's your standard horns and wings, and it's the devil. You know, it's the devil shadow, and Michael says,
Father, I'm with you now.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a hailstorm that night later on, and blood rain they mention, and that at that point Constance says she decides to kill Michael. So we're like, now is when you're going to do it? Okay. So she just grabs like a normal kitchen knife and walks in on him sleeping. And he's awake. He knows she's coming. And he goes to like incinerate her spirit as well. And Tate saves her. Dives through the flames and pulls her, you know. So apparently he's not lighting her on fire. He sets them on fire. You know what I mean? Like the flame was still there and she could be removed from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like if you probably did like jumped in right at the get-go when he happened, because when he did it earlier, I mean, I know those ghosts were brand spanking new, you know, but they kind of seemed to be locked in their position. It was almost like
they lit on fire.
Yeah, like
not the fires from a different source.
Like he started the fire, you know, but Tate came through like the right time, so the only thing that was there was really the fucking ground or what, I don't know, but
right, I'm with you.
Yeah,
I felt like the first two, they themselves ignited, and this one, the fire was like you were standing on top of a fire that you dodged.
Yeah. Like I still.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Like the last one, the fire definitely came from beneath and like rose around the legs, but their bodies themselves were also being ignited from the inside. It seemed like, and I really think the only reason this fire that we're picking on looks the way it does is because of the scene. Like if you didn't have to show him jumping through the flame to like save her, the fire was probably the same. But the fact that there's really no other way to act that out.
Right,
unless you just had him diving, and then they just were like, hey, she's going to be in a green suit and we're going to do it all, you know. You just get what you get. And not a whole lot you can really do with it. And I don't, especially since it's just really only there so 15 minutes from now, you know, it can be used to, as the guy's like, get his foot back in the door moment. You know, that's really the only reason that it's in there.
Yeah. We also forgot to mention when she's approaching him, you see that he has the mark of the beast behind his ear. So the 666 is behind his ear. Mm-hmm. So that's a big. Have you seen Rosemary's Baby? Like the original?
Yeah, a long time ago.
From like 1970, whatever. We should review that one time when we're looking for something to do for a week. Because that movie, that's my wife's favorite. Like it's one of her favorite movies, and she made me watch it back in the day, and I love it. It's a great movie. And a lot of this rings true to that. It's kind of, some of it harkens back to that movie as well.
That's cool. Yeah, I'll watch it. Like, that's the problem with movies like Rosemary Baby or Exorcist, or, I mean, really any good movie you think of when you think of a genre, because, like, yeah, they may have not been the first ones to do that said idea, but they're like, it still, at the time, was probably one of the best ones. Like, we've gotten so far down the rail line of film and TV and phrases that have been said, like, in music in general. Like, there is no note you can play on any instrument that has never been created and or heard before. It's just sequence and timing of which way you can put them in now.
Right.
But majority of that has already been thought of by someone somewhere, somehow. Like, and that's the thing with movies like that still stand the test of time. You always go, yeah, it's like they had a little throwback to a movie, and I honestly want to say, like, a lot of the time, it's not even them doing a throwback. There's just no other fucking way to say or do a certain thing. And it will always be, like, a calling, you know? So they're just like, yeah, that was my call to Rosemary's Baby, or, you know, or whatever it is, because you're going to associate it with that anyway. So why am I going to fight it or argue it? You know, like, I just happen to be writing that way on a Tuesday.
Right. Very true. So let's see. What's the last little bit? The last part of Vivian's story is that she tells them that Tate nor Ben is Michael's father, and that, like, the darkness is inside him is what fathered him or whatever. So pretty much saying, yes, he's Satan's baby. And like, we know that now.
Yeah, they just were like, in case anybody's missed everything we've put down so far.
In case you were sleeping.
You just did, and you missed the 666 on his head, and you missed Boba Fett rising above him after he just took a bite of a heart. In case you missed all of that, here is the final nail in the coffin. Satan's his dad.
Right.
Like just I'm gonna tell you.
Hold up a sign. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
So we cut to Madison is about to leave to tell she's like, I'm out of here. We got to tell the council. Chablis stops her. He's like, what if we can't stop? Like, you run to the council, say what he is. What if we can't stop him? He's right there with us. So what interrupts his conversation with her, we hear Violet crying in the stairwell. Madison goes over there to comfort her, tells her that maybe she should talk to Tate. She's like, some of the evil that you're mad at him about left when Michael left the house, which, okay, I guess that makes sense a little bit. But so Madison at this point blows some magic dust onto her face, and Violet suddenly is able to speak to Tate again, and she calls to him, and he it's like he's always like right out of her sight line. Like, he was looking over the banister, and like when she calls his name, he like runs down and he's next to her in like 3 seconds. So I have to imagine.
But I mean, that's pretty much how it was in season 1. Like when they kind of do the flashbacks from like his point of view, like he was always the camera that poked around the corner, and was like watching her, or would sit in the chair across the room all day because she was in the room reading. Like, I mean, that's right. Like straight up puppy dog still love. Like, you call, I'm there, boo.
Right. And it makes sense why it was driving him crazy in the afterlife, because she wouldn't talk to him because he's always like right there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, anytime you want to talk to me. And so she says, you saved my mom, and he apologizes for everything he's done. And then they're all happy. And so Madison and Chablis leave. And this is more like where he's like, see, you're kind of a softie inside. And she's like, I just want to let 2 ghosts get laid, whatever. And then they get in. They comment that they need to find a way to stop Michael. So I don't know if they're going back yet. They're probably going somewhere else to figure out what they can do to Michael to stop him. They're not done and going back to the outpost yet.
I think they're going to go back, but it's going to be one of those things where they're going to go back and report to... I don't know what the Grand Master or whatever his name was, and the Supreme. Like, they're gonna go back and report what they've been told and be like, blah 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 blah, and then that's probably when the Supreme is going to, like, you're gonna see her do her thing for the planning ahead, and then you're also gonna see probably an in-house fight that starts the whole thing off, because the Warlock dude has got Michael's side, so he's going to tell Michael everything, and then Miss Mead and all them will have something fucking planned.
Yeah, and we also
like I don't neither one of them are the initiative takers to go like, hey, let's stop by the library on the way home and gather some information about this stuff. Like, they're just going to go report what they were told. Like, that's what they are.
Right.
Like,
well, we do know
neither one of them.
We do know we go to the voodoo portion of the Coven season, because we saw that in the trailer for next episode.
Yeah, but I don't think that's them going there to like get more power. I think that's the Supreme laying her plan out, and she knows that she needs the hoodoo, the voodoo, fucking any other third-rate magic, whatever. I think she's now just going to try to pull all the resources she can and make deals with people in any way she can to save the Earth at this point. And if that's, like fucking with Papa Legba because he has some tie to the dark side, like it's a whole different realm, So we'll kind of figure out maybe where, like, hey, do you work for the devil, or are you just like on your own little plane over here and have your own little thing going, kind of, because I bet you like it'll be one of those things where he appears and even he refuses to strike a deal with them. Like, I don't fuck with that. Like, if that power's out, that power's out. Like, I'm I'm not getting in the middle of that shit.
Right. And I'm sure that's where Dinah Stevens, her character will come in too, because she's voodoo. So this will force her to act, or at least they'll drag her along against her will to like be the go-between, or at least to get him in the front door, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
So we'll see. Next week is coming. So yes, good episode, not beating what we consider to be the greatest episode ever. So, but it was definitely good. It probably doesn't rate the 9.8 it has on IMDb, but it was a good episode. A nice job by Sarah Paulson on her first directorial shot. So I thought it was directed really well. There was a couple spots that kind of jumped in, and that could have been just editing. I don't know, but it was good. It was a good episode. I liked it. I'm ready.
Yeah, no, it was a great episode. I'm with you. I don't think it's been the best episode. And this is also one of those episodes too, where it's a good episode, but it's a filler episode. Mm-hmm. Like there was really only one or two things that were really kind of pertinent to where we've been so far. You know, this was just a good way to get
Jessica Lange back on, the whole crew together.
Get the characters back in the old saddle, and also a really, really good way to show how like dark Michael was without even knowing it.
Right.
You know, like he thought he was just being a kid. And now that after the ceremony and he realized that, like, you know, I am the Antichrist, Daddy's devil. That's why him and Miss Mead got along so well, is she never stopped him from trying to be what he has always. And granted, she's bought into the philosophy, right?
Right.
But that's what he always wanted. He was fucking Jessica Lange's character loved him.
Constance.
But she was always correcting him. Like it was, whether it was, you know, it's, and a lot of it's like normal parenting stuff. Just like, hey, if you're going to speak, please speak correctly, you know, kind of thing and stuff like that. But you could tell with his relationship with Miss Mead, it was always, she could say that, but she knew the way to say it to him.
Right.
Because she also encouraged his other activities. Like she never tried to not let him be what he is, you know, and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool seeing his mother's and how he was raised, and even when he was a naive baby, of how disturbingly dark he was. And then how crazy it is that though when he technically became his darkest, right, he finds Miss Mead, at which point he is now his most loved.
Right.
Because you can see even in that scene, as she was like having the flashback to kidnapping the girl, when she was looking at Michael, it was like one of those, like, you're right, I shouldn't feel bad about this. Like, I was meant to be here with you. Mm-hmm. You know, you could already see them bonding, like just like they were meant to be together. Like, I'm the one that's supposed to carry you on for the next step of your journey, you know? It was kind of cool how that all clicked. Even in the middle of a whole like ceremony, there was that good like 3 seconds where it was just, you went, that's where it started.
Yep, it's you and me.
There's where it all began. Yep, that was the you and me. That's what it was.
Well, good. Well, once again, we can't wait for the next episode, which is a good feeling for this show. I love that every time an episode ends, I'm excited about the next one.
Yeah,
this season has consistently done that for me.
It has, and I hate that I'm watching them weekly because of it. Mm-hmm. Like it's a show that needs to be chain watched. Just like ingest as much as you can, because it makes the story that much more fluid and fresh in your head. You know, like it's just good that way. Yeah, this is one of those where if we weren't doing a podcast on it and I watched an episode or so, I would have went, all right, I'm going to let like 7 build up, and that's what I'm going to do Thursday.
Yep.
Or that's my Friday night. Like, that's what it is.
True. All right. Well, that's it for this episode. Make sure you guys check us out over at twodadsreview.com. All of our links to all the places you can listen to us are there. Also, where you can find us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, all the good places. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you turn on the notification button. And that's it for us. We're going to come back next week with episode 7 called Traitor. We'll see what happens. So until then, we'll catch you guys next week.
All right, guys. Later.